enlightenment isn't something you can study. Enlightenment really is not even anything you can learn from anybody else. Enlightenment isn't a course. Enlightenment is allowing. Enlightenment is, you could say, trusting. Enlightenment is experiencing. So in our discovery, we're going to do exactly that. Let's take a good deep breath into discovery. I'm going to summarize all this by saying this year we'll get into the experience of it. Get into the experience. Experience, well, you know what an experience is. Experience is an experience. You go out on a boat on very rough waters, a storm all around you, and you wonder if that boat's going to sink. That's part of the experience. It's that adrenaline, I guess, of, what's going to happen to the boat? What's going to happen to me? It's just an experience. You continue existing. That I know. Let's take a deep breath and have an experience. Yes. So the first experience we're going to talk about is state of consciousness. State of consciousness. Consciousness is awareness. It's not thinking. Basically, there's very little connection, overlap between thought and consciousness. You cannot think your way into consciousness. You can't. You tried thinking. You think, I am that I am. Yeah. But you can experience it and you can have the consciousness of it. Consciousness is the wisdom. Consciousness is the deep wisdom. Consciousness is that aha that you get. Right now, you have allowed yourself a lot of experiences that have you ready for new states of consciousness. But this issue with the mind, you're thinking about it, you're wondering and you're worrying about it. So it's held off. It's just waiting. Consciousness is almost something that when you have the experience of consciousness, you almost can't explain it. Like I said, with regards to God, you almost don't want to. You don't want to pollute it with words or thoughts or have others attack you for it. A state of consciousness should be flexible. Yet, for most, it is very rigid, it is very linear. In other words, they have to have one event preceding another to achieve levels of consciousness. You cannot, and these are bold words, but you cannot expand your consciousness, let's call open your consciousness through thinking. You cannot. Just cannot. You can increase your thinking a little bit, but you cannot increase your consciousness. Most people think about enlightenment or think about consciousness. And then it kind of goes, it's fun at first, but then it goes in a circle and it gets stuck. And then it gets your body stuck, your mind stuck, and it can get very depressing. Most people think in terms that very linear consciousness. In other words, you're doing one thing at a time, one level of consciousness. Where in reality, consciousness is multi-level, multi-dimensional. You're going to have many states of consciousness at the same time. Multiple states. Now, the mind doesn't like that at all. The mind it says, I can't figure it out. That's good. You can't figure out God, enlightenment, yourself, life, or anything else. You don't want to. It's about the experience of it. When you allow yourself to experience, to expand. The consciousness naturally takes that wisdom, distills it, and brings it into the soul self, stripped of all the facts and the figures and the details and what you think were the traumas and everything else. Distills that, breathes in that wisdom, finds what you say is joy in the opening of consciousness. Consciousness is not something that you acquire. You don't go out and get more consciousness. You expand, or you become aware of the consciousness you already have. When the consciousness is combined with the experience, you put the two elements together, the experience of living, for instance, no matter how difficult or wonderful it is, doesn't really matter. You combine that experience with raw consciousness, you bring them together. Now you have something almost indescribable. Consciousness itself is like an empty chalice, an empty vessel. It's there, it exists, and now it wants to fill itself with the experience, with the reality, with the sensory experience of itself. Consciousness then knows consciousness, or connects with consciousness in a much deeper and more profound way. You, Mark, could tell your students that will come to you. It's all about consciousness. It's all about consciousness loving to experience itself for the glory, for the wisdom, for the I amness. Consciousness actually doesn't care at all if it was a good experience, if you're better off now than you were 14 years ago. It just cares about the experience. Just cares, just loves the experience, that's all. It has no judgment. It has no beliefs.